They're going down there.
Okay, stay on the ball though. You gotta stay on the ball.
Good job, Sam. Oh, y'all look great. Good job, you look great. Good job, Vicky. You look
Ciao, my name is Cristoforo Colombo. I was born but Americans know me as Christopher Columbus. I was born in the fall of 1451 in Genoa, Italy. My parents are Domenico and Susanna Colombo. I have two younger brothers, Bartholomew and Diego. I currently have gray hair, but when I was a small child, my hair was red. I also had blue eyes and freckles. Growing up in Italy, I didn't go to school. Even though I couldn't read or write, I loved learning about other explorers by listening to stories told by old sailors. When I was 10 years old, I loved to go out on fishing boats to catch sardines. Even as a boy, I dreamed of adventure, treasure, and glory. I also believed I had been born to carry the word of God to the whole world. When I was 24 years old, I moved to Portugal. On the way, my ship was attacked by pirates. It sunk and I swam all the way to shore. While living in Portugal, I married Philippa and we had one son. We named him Diego. I also learned how to sail. It was still my dream to sail to undiscovered lands. I asked King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain for money to sail west to the Indies. Everyone in the king's court laughed at me, but Queen Isabella believed in me, and she gave me 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria. The Nina was my favorite because it was sturdy and fast. But Queen Isabella believed in me, and she gave me 3 ships. Wait, I already said that. On August of 1492, I set sail in search of new lands. The journey was difficult. The ships were small and crowded. Because the boats were made of wood, they all leaked. Also, much of our food rotted. Many of the men wanted to turn around and go home. After 2 months at sea, I told the men that if we didn't see the land soon, they could cut my head off and return home without me. Luckily, on October 7, 1492, I changed course and began to follow seabirds. A few days later, I stepped onto new land in America. I named the land San Salvador and claimed it for King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain. I am most remembered for discovering America. Even though I did not discover North America, the United States celebrates me with my own holiday called Columbus Day, which is celebrated in October. During my lifetime, I made 4 voyages to the new land. However, I never reached my ultimate goal of finding a western route to the Indies. I spent the last few years of my life bitter, ignored, and unhappy.
I am Joan of Arc. I was born January 6, 1412. I was born in Domremy, France. My dad is Jacques, my mom is Isabella, my brothers are Joachim, Jean, and Perry, and my sister is Catherine. I am best known for talking to saints and angels when I was 13 years old. Saint Catherine told me to go to the Prince of France, Charles VII, who's also called the Dauphin. I asked the Dauphin if I could lead his army to free Orleans. St. Catherine told me there was a sword hidden in a church. I went to the church and I found the sword. I had armor and a banner especially made for me. We went to go free Orleans. While fighting to free Orleans, I got shot by an arrow between my neck and shoulder. I pulled it out and I grabbed my banner and we freed Orleans. After freeing Orleans, I got the Dauphin crowned king of France. He said we were royal and gave us the coat of arms. While trying to free another city from the English, I got captured by the English. I did not have a fair trial. They found me guilty of being a heretic, a liar, and a witch. They said I would live if I said that I said I was lying about talking to saints and angels, but I refused. For a punishment, they shaved my head and made me wear a crazy hat. They tied me to a pole and burned me to death. While I was dead, a white dove flew out of my chest. 500 years later, I was finally declared a saint by the Catholic Church.
Hello, my name is Maria Talchi. I was born on January 24th, 1925 in northeastern Oklahoma. I have an older brother named Jerry and a younger sister named Morgie. My parents' names are Joseph Talchi and Ruth Talchi. The next day, my dad ran away because the oil boats came. He came back drunk and furious. When I was 10 years old, I practiced on point a little. When I got older, I danced in powwows and rodeos. When I became a young adult, I traveled across the country to Ballet Russia. There I was rejected, but the next day they called me back and said, "You may train here at Ballet Russia." I thanked them and schooled in happiness. One day I was dancing with my partner. He purposely let go of my hand. I fell hard. I love ballet. I dance in front of kings, queens, and presidents. I married my old ballet instructor named George Blanchie. I'm the United States' first prima ballerina. It's very hard to be a ballerina. You have to be patient. In 1953, I was the most famous ballerina in the world. I had the pleasure of meeting President Eisenhower. My photographs appeared on covers of magazines, and I danced on television many times. My partner was scared to dance with me. He said, "I'm afraid to dance with the great Maria Talchi." I said, "I don't bite, you know." He said, "I'm not afraid of you biting me, Miss Talchi. I'm afraid I'll knock you off point." I said, "You're not strong enough." However, there was this one man, he did knock me off point. When I was 40 years old, I had a baby girl named Elsie. When I returned home, they called me as Princess Waxstone. Princess Waxstone brought the two worlds of Native Americans and ballet together. When I was little, I also hunted through the tall grasses for arrowheads. And this is one of my arrowheads.
Hi, my name is Sacagawea. I was born in 1789 or 1790 in the Rocky Mountains, in the state which is now called Idaho. My name means bird woman. Saka means bird and Jawea means woman. My family is a part of the Shoshone Indian tribe, also known as the Snake Indians, because we camped near the Snake River a lot. I have a brother named Kamiwe. My family lives in a teepee. We also move around a lot. We did not have schools, but I watched the older women in my tribe and learned to make moccasins, clothing, and teepees. I picked berries and dug roots for my family to eat. For fun, my friends and I juggled mud balls and ran races. In the year 1800, I was around 10 or 11 when Minnetonka Indians attacked my tribe. Many were fled and killed. I was taken prisoner. The Minnetonka Indians traded me to Toussaint Charbonneau, who became my husband. When I was 15, I was expecting a baby. strangers arrived in my village. Meriwether Lewis and William Clark were leading the expedition from the northwest all the way to the Pacific Ocean. They asked my husband and I to join them, mainly because I could speak Shoshone. In 1805, I gave birth to a baby boy named Jean Baptiste. The explorers called him Pomp. In this very long and hard journey, I carried Pomp in a cradle board on my back. In 1805, we traveled back to my homeland and my tribe. Then we made it to the Pacific Ocean. After a few weeks later, we headed back to St. Louis. I was an important part of Lewis and Clark expedition because I was the only woman and Indian in the 1800s, a part of the expedition. I helped find food and helped translate to them, and I helped get horses from the Shoshone Indians, and also helped find plants to use as medicines. Mr. Clark told me that I was great service to him because I helped translate to them, and I was a lot of help when he was a pilot and throughout his country. There are more landmarks named for me and memorials in my honor than any other American woman. In the year 2000, the U.S. Mint made a golden dollar in my honor. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Amelia Mary Earhart. I was born July 24th, 1897. I was born in Atchison, Kansas in a Grandpa Otis's house. My parents are Amy and Edwin Earhart. I have one sister, Grace Muriel Earhart. I am 2 years older than her. Growing up in Atchison, Kansas in the early 1900s, little girls were expected to wear long skirts with ribbon and lace, to play quietly with dolls and to learn how to cook and sew. My sister and I loved adventures. We loved to play outside, fishing, playing baseball, exploring caves, collecting insects, worms, and toads. Our parents loved adventures too, so they encouraged us to be outside. When I was 12 years old, my dad got a big promotion with the railroad, so we moved to Des Moines, Iowa. While living in Iowa, my dad developed a drinking problem, which ruining his promising career. Because of my dad's drinking, he could not hold a steady job or find any work. After watching my dad battle his drinking problem, it made me have compassion for people with alcoholism. After high school, I wanted to go to college in Pennsylvania, but my family did not have the money to send me. So we moved to Kansas City, where my dad has started a successful law office. During Christmas vacation in 1917, I went to visit Muriel in college in Canada. While with her, I met 4 Canadian men who were injured in World War I. It hit me in that moment that I wanted to help. So I quit school and became a nurse's aide. While off duty one day, I went to the Toronto Fair, and there I saw ace pilots performing stunts. I ended up signing up for a pilot's license. In the summer of 1922, I got my pilot's license. Then on my 24th birthday, my mom and my sister helped me buy my first airplane, a bright yellow biplane called a Canary. In 1929, I helped find the 99s, an organization of female pilots. I became the first woman to fly solo across the Atlantic Ocean. But 6 weeks later, on May 21st, 1937, I set out to do the impossible. But six weeks later, on July 2nd, 1937, over the Pacific Ocean, I disappeared. July 5th, 1937, I was officially declared dead.
Hi, my name is Charlotte Diggs Moon, but most people know me as Lottie. I was born December 12, 1840, in Albemarle County, Virginia. My parents' names are Anna Maria and Edward Moon. I'm the 4th oldest of 7 children. I have 4 sisters and 2 brothers. Growing up, my family owned a plantation named Beaumont. I value my free time and I love to play outside. My parents thought school was important for all their children, not just my brothers. My parents were both Christians and took us to church. When I was 13, my dad died in a riverboat accident. At 14, I went away to school. I liked to play pranks on my classmates, and I even told them the D in my middle name stood for devil. I even went to a church meeting to pick on them even more, but instead I gave my life to Jesus Christ. I went on to finish school. I was one of the first women in the South to get a master's degree of arts. After graduation, me and my sisters helped the wounded soldiers in the Civil War. After the Civil War, my family did not have a lot of money. So I had to teach my younger sister, Mona. Then I realized I could become a teacher. I taught in Danville, Kentucky, and Cartersville, Georgia. In Georgia, I felt God calling me to go to China. In 1873, I left for China. I first learned the language, then I started to travel with other missionaries, teaching people about Jesus. At first, they did not like me. They were afraid of me and called me names. But I did not give up. So I started to dress and act like them, and I even made the children cookies. And soon they became my friends. I stayed in China for almost 40 years. I gave the people in China my food, my love, and I taught them about Jesus. I wrote letters back to the mission board asking churches for help, saying, we give gifts to each other every year at Christmas, so why don't we give gifts to God? They sent help. They still take up an offering today at Christmas, in my honor, helping missionaries around the world today. At 72, I got sick and I started home for help. But I didn't make it. I died December 24th, 1912 in Kobe, Japan. The end.
Hi, my name is Claire Barton. I was born in 1821 and I was the youngest of 5 children. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters. I was the baby of the family. My sisters' names were Dorothy Barton and Sarah Barton Vanessel. My 2 brothers' names were David Barton and Stephen Barton. My parents' names were David Barton and Sarah Barton. My mom was not really there too much, so I don't know a lot about her because she was always at work. I loved hearing my dad's story about his time in the war. My brother David would teach me things usually only men would do back then, like riding horses. But he did not care that usually only men would do it. And I started having shyness problems. At the age of 11, my brother David fell off the barn roof trying to fix it. And I took care of him for many years. And after that, I yearned to help people even more. At the age 18, I became a teacher, and I still had my shyness problems, but I eventually got over it. And I was a teacher for 18 years. And after that, I was one of the first women to work at the patent office. And when I worked there, I convinced them to pay me as much as they would pay a man. After that, I founded the American Red Cross, and after dedicating the rest of my life to the American Red Cross, I became sick. I grew older and older. And by the time my parents had died a couple of years later, I was
Sadly, I died at age 90 on April 12th, 1912, and I'm still remembered to this day.
Hi, my name is Bessie Coleman. I was born January the 26th, 1892. My parents were George and Susan Coleman. They had 13 children and I was the 10th child. Growing up, I loved math and reading. I walked 4 miles to a one-room schoolhouse and back. My mom rented books for me twice a year. In order for my family to earn money, we picked cotton and did laundry. When I was 9, my dad moved to Oklahoma with other Native Americans. I moved to Chicago when I was 23 with my brother Walter. I was a manicurist in a barber shop. Men there talked about the war and French women flying airplanes. I wanted to fly an airplane too, so I talked with Chicago's defender Robert Abbott. He said he knew someone in France who taught people how to fly airplanes. But I would have to earn money and learn French for flying lessons. When I was 28, I sailed off for France for flying lessons. On June 15, 1921, I was the first African American Native American female to earn a pilot license. I also took lessons in Germany and Holland for flying lessons in the United States.
My name is Abraham Lincoln. I was born February 12th, 1809 in Kentucky. My parents' names are Nancy and Thomas Lincoln. I have an older sister named Sarah. I like to help my dad work on the farm. I help my dad chop down trees to use to build a new cabin. I love books and wanted to learn how to read them. When I was 9, my mom died. When I was 22, in New Orleans, I saw slaves being sold. It made me sad. I became interested in politics and became a lawyer. In 1842, I got married and had 4 sons. I ran for Senate against Stephen A. Douglas and spoke against slavery. I lost the election for Senate, but in 1860, I became the President of the U.S. I wrote the Emancipation Proclamation and freed the slaves in 1862. In 1863, I wrote the Gettysburg Address. I was re-elected as president in 1864. On April 14th, 1865, I got shot in the back of the head at a movie theater by John Wilkes Booth. I was 56 years old. You can see my face at Mount Rushmore, on a $5 bill, on a 1-cent penny, and in the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C.
Hi, my name is Milton Bladdy. I was born November 8, 1836 in Indiana, Maine. My parents were Lewis and Fanny Bladdy, and I had no siblings. Our family never had much money, but we were close. Our family enjoyed leaning together and playing games like checkers or chess. My dad taught me how to subtract by using shiny red apples. That is a lesson I will always remember. My best friend was George Tapley. He could always make me laugh. I had a talent for drawing and began to study art after high school. After high school, though, I did not have enough money to attend a scientific school, so I went to work instead. I got a job to sell paper, pens, and ink door to door. When I finally had enough money to attend the school, I was almost finished, but my dad found a better job, so he had to move. There, I eventually made my own business as a draftsman and a patent solicitor. I got lucky when the Pasha of Egypt came and wanted me to draw plans for a fancy train car. I got enough money to open a print shop and start a biography business. After playing with my friend George, I decided to make my own game, the Checker Game of Life. A game with a checkerboard to teach you about the good and bad choices in life, which is now called the Game of Life. After making hundreds of them, I went to big cities like New York City and sold them all. When Abraham Lincoln was running for president, I made a fearless portrait of him. But people got mad and demanded money back because Lincoln grew a beard. I lost a lot of money, but I was thankful to have my game board business. When the Civil War began, I made a game kit for soldiers. A small pocket-sized game board for soldiers to play when they weren't fighting in the war. I married Viola Eaton, but she got ill and died. I later met and married Nellie Thayer, and we had 2 daughters, Florence and Lillian. Around this time, I made educational toys for schools and kindergartens. I retired and I let George Tapley take over. At 75 years old in 1911, I will be remembered as the man who invented board games and the man who started the Milton Bradley Company, which now got bought out by Hasbro and continues to make toys and games today. You might have played one, Twister, Battleship, Candyland, or Game of Life.
Hi, my name is Ruby Bell Burgess. I was born in Mississippi in 1954. My parents are Yvonne and Lucille. I have 7 younger brothers and sisters. In 1960, I was in the first grade in New Orleans, Louisiana. The United States Supreme Court said that it was unlawful for there to be whites-only schools. My parents decided I would integrate my local school. That meant I would be the first African American to go to William Frantz Public School. Many white people were not happy over this. 4 years marshals drove my mom and I to my first day at William Frantz. They knew I would need protection for the 4 blocks from my house to school, even as I walked into school. There were many people's signs. They were shouting many words at me, and some even spit at us. There are many books about me. In the principal's office, my mom and I stayed in the principal's office the first day. Many angry parents were taking their children out of school because of me. The second day I was allowed to go to school, but many of the teachers would not teach me. I saw my first white teacher that day. She became my teacher. I was Mrs. Henry's only student. Someone threatened to poison me, so I had to bring my lunch from home. loved her and she loved me, but the worst part was being lonely. I couldn't go outside for recess, and a U.S. Marshal had to escort me to the restroom. So someone threatened to poison me, so I had to bring my lunch from home. I received a letter from the First Lady of the United States telling me I was a good African American. A famous artist named Norman Rockwell painted a picture of me walking into school. There are many books about my experience at William France. I wrote a book called Through My Eyes. Disney made a movie called Ruby Bridges about my first year at William France. I started the Ruby Bridges Foundation to bring kids all together from different backgrounds. I tell children that we can all be friends and all be kind to each other.
Hi, my name is Misty Danielle Copeland. I was born on September 10th, 1982 in Kansas City, Missouri. My parents are Sylvia and Doug Copeland. I have 3 brothers and sisters, Chris, Erica, and Doug Jr. After leaving my father when I was 2 years old, my mother married Harold Brown, giving me a half-sister, Lindsay. When my mom and Harold divorced, she married Robert De La Serna, and they had Cameron, my half-brother. While attending Dana Middle School, I joined the drill team where my coach, Elizabeth Canteen, noticed my abilities and talent and said I should join the Boys and Girls Club Ballet. Cindy Bradley, my teacher from the Boys and Girls Club, invited me to come train at her personal studio. After just 8 weeks of studying at the San Pedro Dance Center, I stood on point for the first time. I landed many roles in performances, such as The Nutcracker, which gained me media attention as a ballet prodigy. In 2000, I was offered a place in American Ballet Theater's studio company. When I was 19, I promoted to ABT's Corps de Ballet, which is a very competitive program. While rehearsing one day, I injured my back, which doctors said was a stress fracture. I decided to take time off, meaning I didn't dance my first year in the Corps. In 2007, after just 6 years of being a Corps member, I was promoted to soloist. At this point, I started to notice how often ballet left out people of color. In 2011, I was the first black female to dance the lead role in The Firebird. However, 6 months before the debut, I started having left shin pain. I performed opening night in severe pain. I then pulled myself out of the rest of the season for major surgery. I had surgery on October 10th, 2012, and returned to rehearsing 5 months later. When I returned, I was named principal dancer, making me the first African American principal ballerina of the American Ballet Theater, the first in ABT's 75-year history. On July 31st, 2016, I married my boyfriend of 10 years, Olu Evans. I continue to rehearse ballet, and Olu and I hope to start a family one day.
Hi, my name is Florence Nightingale. I am known as the Lady with the Lamp. I am famous for being the first official nurse. My parents are William and Fanny Nightingale. I was born May 12, 1820, in Florence, Italy. My parents named me after the beautiful city of Florence. Parthena Nightingale is my sister. My parents are very wealthy, and we traveled to Europe a lot. I could read and speak 5 different languages at an early age. I loved God. I saw many poor and sick people growing up. As a child, I always wanted to help the sick and poor. I wanted to be a nurse. It was God's calling for me to serve others. My parents didn't want me to be a nurse. They said it was a poor job, and I was too good to do that. When I was 22, I met the love of my life. I had to decide if I wanted to marry or not. Eventually, I said no to marriage so I could do what God wanted me to do, to help the sick and poor. My parents were upset with my choice. I wanted to be a nurse. In 1854, the Crimean War started. I was asked to organize a group of nurses to help take care of the sick, wounded soldiers. I realized that the hospitals were very bad and not clean, and the conditions were bad. I decided that the nursing care had to improve. I started writing standards that needed to be improved. I started the Nightingale Training School in England for nurses to teach the standards and to teach the standards of nursing care and healthcare. I wrote and published several books. In 1861, I was sick and in a hospital bed. I spent the next 40 years in bed but continued my work. I devoted my life to serving God and improving lives of poor people in healthcare. My determination improved healthcare all around the world. I died August 13th, 1910. Nursing care and hospitals are better today because of my hard work to set standards and improve care.
Hi, my name is Cleopatra VII. I was born in Alexandria, Egypt in 69 BC. My siblings' names are Tryphena, Bernice, Arsinoe, and King Ptolemy XIII. We are for sure that my dad's name is King Ptolemy XIII, but we are not for sure who my mom is. Many people believe it is Cleopatra VI, though some people also believe it is Cleopatra V. I had a very good education when I was growing up, though my childhood was hard. My childhood was spent battling for the throne, and people always assassinated my loved ones. My father wanted his youngest daughter to become Queen of Egypt at age 18. Though by law, a queen cannot rule without a king. So I was forced to marry my brother, making him King Ptolemy XIII, though he was only 10 years old. So he got a regent, whose name is Pothinus, who could overrule my decisions anytime he wanted to. I always found my decisions being overruled by Pothinus. And once we were at war. I was in danger. I could not stay at my home any longer. So I rolled myself up in a rug and mailed myself to my good friend Julius Caesar's house. I stayed there for a while and we eventually got married. We even had a child of our own. His name was Ptolemy Caesar, though we called him Caesarion. Many other people called him Little Caesar. Many people thought Caesar was acting as the king of Egypt and thought he was a threat. They sent people to assassinate him. I decided it was not safe for Caesarion, so I decided he would become the new king of Egypt. I found Mark Antony, who became my new husband. We married and had twins. I named them Cleopatra Selene and Alexander Helios, whose names mean moon and sun. We were at war with my late husband, Caesar's adopted son, Octavian. I decided it was not safe for me, and I spread rumors that I was dead. I hid in my tomb, and my husband, Mark Antony, unaware of my plan, found me there in my tomb, believing I was dead. He killed himself there, and then my empire was defeated. When I found my husband dead, I had poisonous snakes brought to me and made them kill me. A couple of contributions I had in my life is that I was the first Ptolemaic pharaoh to speak Egyptian. All the other ones before me spoke Greek. I was also the last pharaoh of Egypt.
I'm Theodore Roosevelt. As a kid, I had asthma. I had to stay inside most days. My Aunt Anne taught me how to read. At age 9, I wrote my first book about the insects I have seen. At age 13, I got glasses. I didn't know how beautiful the world was until I got my first pair. At age 14, I had been to many places. At age 16, I went to My parents decided to send me to Harvard University. My first big job after Harvard was working for the Civil Service Commission as a commissioner. I also served in the Navy as the assistant secretary. I left my job in the Navy to volunteer to fight for Cuba's freedom. I was able to fight for Cuba's freedom. The volunteer group is called the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders is a group of men that volunteer to fight in the war for Cuba against Spain. I was able to bring my horse, Little Texas, but only officers were allowed to bring their horse. So I had my horse, Little Texas shipped. We arrived and Cuba won. I came home as a national hero. I ran for governor and lost. I ran for governor and won. Then President McKinley was looking for a vice president. I was chosen. President McKinley, in 1900, President McKinley was shot and killed. And now I'm the 26th president of the United States of America. I came up with the plan for the Panama Canal. It saved ships 8,000 miles by going through Central America. In 1904, I won the election. In 1904, I won the election for president. I got Japan and Russia to sign a peace treaty. The next year, I got a Nobel Peace Prize. The environment, land, and animals were special. Animals were special to me, and I made many laws to protect all of it.
I'm Helen Keller. I was born 1880, June 27th, Alabama, Tuscumbia, AL. My parents are Kate Keller and Captain Keller. My siblings are James, William Simpson, Mildred, and Phillips. When I was 1.5 years old, I got sick and I became blind and deaf. When I was 7 years old, Annie Sullivan came to teach me. I learned to spell, read, and write. I could read Braille and numerals. When I got older, I went to Radcliffe College, and I met presidents around the world. I inspired many people to do amazing things. I'm famous because I met presidents and I inspired people and I could read, write, and spell and do Braille and numerals.
Hello, my name is Wright. I was born in 1871. Hello, I'm Orville Wright. I'm one of the Wright brothers that invented the airplane. I was born in 1871. My parents are Milton and Susan Wright. My dad had a church shop and he traveled around helping people. My mom would stay home and raise me, my 3 brothers, and my 1 younger sister. Mom would help us make sleds and kites. When I was little and starting school, I was going Mom found out that I was going to a friend's house instead of school. School was not my favorite place to be. My teachers would put me in the front row of class so they could keep an eye on me. When I got older, I would build and repair toys. I was very curious and wanted to do stuff differently. I found different ways to make money, like help my friends make a circus and made a parade to bring in customers. In 1887, I became a printer and newsman. I made my own large printing machine and made my own newspaper. In 1892, Wilbur and I opened the Wright Cycle Exchange. Bicycles were very popular, and we would build and repair them. When Dad came home from one of his trips, he brought us a toy glider. One day, Wilbur got badly hurt playing hockey. It took him a long time to recover. During this time, we got interested in making gliders better. Wilbur and I made gliders better by adding a little engine to a toy glider. I made a big difference in the world by inventing the airplane because it helped people travel.